Hey music lovers, Sara J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this week of Dropped Among This Crowd, the last fresh episode of 2025. That's just all absolutely insane to even say that we are at the end of this year. And it only felt appropriate that the last episode of the year was me and you. Me behind the mic, checking in with you, looking back on the past year. And what a year. My goodness. I mean, that's like an understatement, huh? I mean, literally, I can't even. It's been an amazing and wild and just all sorts of emotions and feels and things. And if you know me, there's always much deeper rabbit holes that you can go down and, get into, and collectively there's a lot going on in the world, and 2025 is certainly a year that I don't think any of us will ever forget. And it's also really wild because I feel like I can't even really remember like a few months ago, like the spring time, like trying to think back to March just seems like eons ago, because so much just happens in a short amount of time each month, and sometimes each day. Am I right? Like, seriously. So, and the whole time thing is that's another mindfuck conversation for another time. That I can fall down that rabbit hole and have with a few of my guests here. If you're a regular listener, you know. But beyond all of the things that have been going on behind the scenes, for me, there's been a lot going on here on the podcast in the media company over the past 12 months. First of all, this was the first year that the podcast and the media company really opened itself up in terms of coverage, and that really proved to be the best choice, not only for the show, but for the media company and for myself personally in ways that I never could have conceived possible when I made the decision that I did. So I'm really, really grateful in that aspect. When I look back, use that as a milestone, definitely professionally for sure. It was a huge pivot in the business and the podcast, and it was quite honestly a very bold leap. I will give myself kudos for that. And I'm really grateful with how I have landed. And I'm really excited for, what is going to continue to materialize as everything grows. And, just looking back at the year here on the podcast, I have had such amazing guests all year here on the show, and I say that every year since 2018 when the show started. I say every year. I've had so many amazing conversations, but I truly always have. It's one of the many things that I love about this show is it's afforded me the extreme pleasure of meeting and talking with all sorts of people and having all sorts of different conversations. And that's just been really, really special. But this year has been really amazing, and that goes along with opening up the coverage here on the show. And I just want to, run through and look back on all of the guests that we had here on the show this year. And if you missed any of these episodes, definitely go back and listen to all of them. Like I said, every guest this year was just so amazing. Last week on the show, Satellite Pilot, and the week before that, Alex Moore, the guitarist from Satellite Pilot. They are just collectively such an awesome group of people. Alex is just such an amazing human being. He was so interesting to listen to talk about his life and his journey with music and his inspirations. And then when he told me all about Satellite Pilot and starting this band when he was in 8th grade and, how it's grown and morphed. And then I had the extreme pleasure of meeting most of the rest of the band. Just the drummer was not on our call. But everybody else in the band was just really amazing. And their new EP, Two For Reals, Too True, is just so good. I love it so much. I highly recommend that you give that a spin. That's everywhere that you stream music. And then I did a review of the EP, and you can check that out over on the patreon.com/DATC Media Company. But their EP is so good. Getting to meet all of them was just so amazing. I'm so excited to see what they're going to be doing in the coming years and beyond. And I said it in the episode, and I'll say it again here. I'm really excited to dive into their catalog. They have 9 albums under their belt already. So this is their first EP in the history of the band, which is really exciting for them. But they have 9 albums already under their belts, and I'm really excited to dive into everything that they've already put out there. So yeah, if you are looking for some indie music to check out Satellite Pilot. They are out of Loveland, Colorado. So if you are in that area, they said they have a growing fan base in like Wichita, Kansas, which was an interesting thing they brought up in our conversation. So yeah, check them out on social media and everything, and I'll throw links for everything in the show notes, of course. And speaking of new indie music, Carl Engelman returned to the show. If you have been around for a while, you know Carl Engelman, and we've worked together on various projects here on Media Company Podcast Network throughout the years. And he hit me up and was super excited about his new creative project, Cuddle Clouds, and their self-titled debut album. And of course I was like, absolutely, we have to talk about whatever new creative venture that Carl Engelman has cooked up, which, if you know Carl, that fits in so many different ways, being a chef and a restaurant owner. But it was so great to catch up with him. I seriously am such a Carl Engelman super fan. I love everything that he's done throughout his career, what I've been able to dive into in the past with ABT, and then along the lines of his personal stuff, his solo work, his Christmas albums, and of course now Cuddle Clouds. So it was really exciting to catch up with him. And that is available also anywhere that you stream music. And there's also a review over on the Patreon of that as well. Also this year, DATC Media photographer David Armis was back talking about all things Halloween. This was his second year covering the festival for the media company, so that was really exciting, not only to catch up with him again, but to also have the media company there represented for the second year, and it's been really awesome to build that relationship with the folks behind the scenes over there at Halloween. So we're really looking forward to year 3 and what that's going to look like. So, yeah. World-renowned concert photographer Richard Beland was also on the show. That was an amazing 2-part conversation with him. He has had an absolutely amazing career. He is a hardcore music lover in his bones, but also just an amazing photographer and has this incredible gift of capturing the emotion in that moment. And just to have all the conversations with him about all the people that he's taken photos of over the span of his career. And over the last couple of months, I've gotten to know him more, and I call him a very dear friend now, which is so awesome on a lot of levels. And he just had an amazing art show in Toronto at the end of October. He had his photos were on display at the List Gallery in Toronto for about a month, and he had an opening at the end of October. And that was just such an amazing evening, just to see everybody there and meet some folks that I only knew like from social media. So to meet them in person and just to be there and relish with him in his moment, see him just having this incredible moment. And he put out a book, his very first book, with all his photographs in it. And, so he talks all about that and everything in that amazing 2-part episode. Talks about his Grateful Dead fandom, his Tragically Hip fandom, and just all of the amazing things. He talks about being at Woodstock 99. I mean, come on. So definitely check out those 2 conversations and give Richard Beland a follow on social media also. Again, I will link everybody's everything in the show notes so it's nice and easy for everybody to find it. My girl, Leah Singman, singer-songwriter based out of Michigan, was also on the show this year. Her first album is coming out soon. I am so excited and proud of her. Her story was just also amazing. She is a single mom, and she is doing her thing and creating her art and making her imprint in the world. And it was so awesome to hear her stories as well. So definitely check out her music. Guitarist and podcast host Mark Hopkins, also a guest on the show this year. And then I was a guest on his show At Home with Mark. And both of those conversations were so fun. Nerding out about all things music. We got into the GNL things, if you know, you know, and our mutual love of Mo, among other topics. And you know what? We may have actually manifested the return of Mo Down. Go back and listen to my spot on his show. I threw the replay of that in this feed so you can easily find it. It's episode 314. And tell me what you think, because we talked about Mo Down, and I feel like our conversation may have manifested the return of Mo Down, which I'm so here for, FYI. Anyway, back to the guests here on the show this year. Another musician and podcast host, Craig Rogers, was on for 2 epic two-parters. Craig, who is based out of Vancouver, I met him through my work with my friend Jamie and all of the stuff with the top 40, the Tragically Hip top 40 countdown. And so he came on the show, and first he did 2 episodes talking about his bands, Window 78 and Gift Shop. Gift Shop is a Tragically Hip tribute band. We also talked about his work on the Discovering Downey podcast, which is how he knows my friend Jamie. And so much more. I mean, of course, you know. If you are not new here on the show, there's never any shortage of conversation topics. That's for sure. And then he did another epic two-parter. So it was actually 4 episodes altogether with Craig, but the first 2 were, in typical fashion, a guest has usually 2 weeks, two-parter on the show. But he had brought this idea to me because he made a playlist that I just absolutely loved. And when we were talking about him being a guest on the show, he's like, I have this idea. Do you want to do another two-parter and we can do this idea? And I said, yeah, that's great. So he came back on and did another 2-part, 7 Canadian bands you should know. And he also made a playlist to go along with that. He did amazing work on that, and it was so awesome to learn more about these bands that he brought to the table. Of course, literally only scratching the surface, but I feel like also opened the portal, opened the door for more episodes like that. I would absolutely love to do more episodes like that, but this was a great lead into that sort of topic and Canadian bands. I'm really excited about where that kind of coverage goes with that. But this playlist that he made was really awesome, and the playlist that spawned the idea, like I said, was just, I love it so much. So I will actually link both of those playlists in the show notes. I highly recommend giving both of those playlists a spin. 2 amazing episodes with saxophonist Dan Wallace. That was a whole cool spider web of him finding me. He had actually listened to an episode that featured a buddy of his, and he reached out to me and was actually like, I don't know if this is weird. Seems like you interview a lot of guitarists, which I do. That just seems to happen. But if that is, my forte of conversations when it comes to instruments and gear, etc. But I was like, no, please, I would love to have you on the show. And then he wound up having just an absolutely incredible 2-parter, and he really educated me on all sorts of jazz history and just saxophonists and playing and music and all the things. I mean, it was a very, very interesting conversation, and I really, really loved it because I came away from it with so much knowledge of things that I don't have any knowledge of, this whole genre of music and these incredible players and their important pieces of music history. So it was so awesome to get to know him, and he is an incredible saxophone player. I will link some stuff for you, his YouTube page for sure. Just incredible. So that was very, very awesome. I'm so glad that he reached out to me. I was like, hey, you want to talk? And I was like, fuck yes. So that was such an awesome conversation for sure. The show hit its 300th episode this year, and that is very exciting and crazy and mind-blowing in so many ways. If you have been along for this journey in any capacity, whether here on the show since 2018. If you've been listening since 2018, like, please reveal yourselves. Like, thank you for being an OG ride or die. But in any capacity, I mean, even over the past year, whatever, or if you follow on social or in my real life, it's been a ride for sure. So the fact that the podcast hit 300 episodes this year is very exciting, and I am damn proud of myself. That's for sure. Some more awesome guests this year. My dear friend and musical encyclopedia, Darren Kapp, had 2 episodes. I mean, you know how we do here. Like I said, you come here and we usually have 2 episodes because we talk and we get into the real stuff. And that was an episode that we got into it. If you want to hear a little bit more about the story of my dad, who I talk about very often here on the show through the years, Darren cracks open the vaults of Sara J a little bit. So, yeah. But that was a great conversation, and musical encyclopedia is an absolutely fantastic way to describe Darren, because that's just exactly what he is, and I love having conversations with him about music. So if you are a big music nerd, which chances are if you're listening to this, you are, so you're definitely going to want to check out my chats with Darren. And another musician and podcast host, Kirk Lane. Again, another epic 2-parter. I met Kirk the same way that I met Craig. He was a co-host on the Discovering Downey podcast, which was hosted by my dear friend Jamie. And so meeting Kirk was very awesome. And of course, we again talked about Discovering Downey podcast. We talked about gear. We talked about music. We talked about parenthood. We got into all of the things, and it was really, really awesome, again, to get to know Kirk. He's based out of SoCal. So everybody from all over this year. That's what I love about this, too, is, you know, when I thought about geographically where all of my guests were from, that was really exciting, too, to just be talking to people all over the place. I also had the very extreme pleasure of meeting Ashley Dawes. She is an amazing woodworker, beautiful human being, and also a mom. And she just creates the most beautiful wood pieces. And I found her on social media, actually, because she made this beautiful Tragically Hip piece. And I was blown away. As a guitar stand. And I saw the picture on Instagram, and I was absolutely blown away by this work and needed to talk to her. And of course, when you get on the show, we start to just talk about life and everything. And so it was wonderful to get to know her. And of course, you know, juggling motherhood and a small business and life and things. And so it was really, really great to connect with her, and then to watch all of the things that she's created over the last couple of months, you know, following her on social and everything else. And yeah, so it's just another really beautiful connection that I have made over the past year. I also was very pleased to chat with music industry pioneer RoughGauge. He reached out to me, actually, his assistant reached out to me and found my show, my media company, and wanted to know if I would be interested in interviewing Ralph. And admittedly, I had to do a little bit of research and found out that his career spanned, you know, over 4 decades, and he has worked alongside some of the most iconic artists of our time. Like, literally during our conversation, he was talking about working alongside record releases with Bob Marley and Queen. I mean, iconic music artist, and his stories were legendary, and it was really interesting to, again, get to know him and hear about, how he made these pivotal shifts into the music industry. He really shares a lot of wisdom that you can only really get from being in the music industry in the capacity that he has for as long as he has. He talks very interestingly about streaming, music streaming, and when everything really shifted, when Napster came into play, and, how all of that really changed everything. And we also talked, again, interestingly, about live music and just the music industry as a whole, and just kind of how things have changed over the decades from his perspective. So that was a really great conversation, and one of those things that I really didn't know what to expect going into it, because I really didn't know a lot about him. But again, it's one of those moments where you just go in and completely open, and then you're blown away and far exceeds any sort of expectation that you had, because there wasn't any. So there's that. But also keeping yourself open and listening to these conversations, being like, wow. Wow. So that's a really, really great chat for sure that I suggest you check out. And of course, the RoughGauge Featured Artist Series. That was a lot of fun. Those conversations were really, really great. And the amazing guys that were a part of that: Taylor, Justin, Dan, Bill, and Mark. You can find those guys on the RoughGauge website. I will link it in the show notes. And if you go on the RoughGauge website, there is a tab that'll show you the past featured artists, and there's a picture of each of the guys. And then there's a link to their main musical project, so you can check them out. And seriously, thank you guys for being a part of the featured artist series, and so grateful for all of their support for RoughGauge over the years. We love our OG diehard fans for sure. And there's a lot of exciting things in the works with RoughGauge also. I can't wait to share with you guys the things that I have been working on behind the scenes. I'm just very excited for that too. Lots of very cool growth going on with RoughGauge too. And it has just been such a complete honor and privilege to work with them over the past couple years. And we're just getting started. So if you are not following RoughGauge on social media, you should definitely do that. And we also have a YouTube page now. I'm going to be working on building that up in the new year for sure. But I'll link the Instagram page, the Facebook page, the YouTube page, and also the website. RoughGauge is also available on Amazon, and I will link that as well. And if you or someone you know is interested in being a RoughGauge featured artist, I'll throw my email in the show notes as well. And hit me up. I would love to talk. All right, so new episodes of the podcast will be back on January 6th. And there are some other things in the works for the media company coming in 2026, early 2026, winter and springtime. If you have been hanging around in the other sort of vortexes that I have been hanging out in over the past year, or if you possibly saw the drop in the feed last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago, whatever, Sunday Evening Jam, Jamie, my buddy in Toronto, and I were hanging out every Sunday over on YouTube Live, the Tragically Hip Hangout space. And over the year, the show has morphed and done what it does. And so moving into 2026, I'm going to be taking the show over, taking the hosting duties of that. And I'm going to be revamping all of the things. I haven't really decided yet what all the details are going to be with that, but this space is a lot of fun and folks really love it, and I would love for it to continue. So just stay tuned to the socials for more on that, but that will be something that will be coming back in 2026 with just some different tweaks, ideas, possibly a different time, possibly a different day. I'm kind of feeling out how I feel about what that's going to look like next. And if you have any thoughts, if you regularly hang out over there on Sundays on YouTube and have some thoughts with what you would like to see from Sunday Evening Jam moving forward, reach out and let me know for sure. Also, the last couple of months, I have been working on a very, very exciting project, but I can really only give some breadcrumbs at the moment. But you guys right now listening to this are going to be getting really the exclusive first time that I have talked about this project outside of the team and those in my personal circle. But I'm very excited about this. This project came to me in like the springtime of 2025, and so we will be releasing in early 2026 the Copper Penny Project. It's an immersive multi-part mini-series taking a deep dive into the formative years of the Tragically Hip and the legend of the Copper Penny recording with folks that were there over 40 years ago, which has just been so cool to hear stories from people that were at this show so long ago and remember stories from so long ago. And it's been really incredible, the team that I have been working with. So I am so excited to finally bring this out into the world. We are still working on so much of it behind the scenes. And it will be coming soon. But I'm so excited. And had to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into it. So yeah, that'll be coming soon. So again, stay tuned to the socials if you are on the email list, if email is more of your thing. Everything will be coming down the pipeline in the emails, social media, of course. And if you are not on the email list, if you go to datcmediacompany.com, there is a little pop-up window on the homepage, and you can put your email address in there also. So yeah, just all sorts of really, really cool things coming in 2026. And that's just what I have planned. So who the hell knows what's in store? We love this. Let me see what else do I want to shout out here? Oh, I do want to also, give a quick shout out to the Strictly Hip, and it was such a pleasure to work their merch on Saturday night in Syracuse. The weather was a little sketchy, but it's Western and Central New York in December. You deal with it. You know what I mean? You give yourself a little extra time and you go and you do it. But it was a great night, and it was a lot of fun to work merch for them at the show. And yeah, so I just wanted to shout them out, and that was a fun experience for sure. Also, speaking of which, I have to, of course, talk about the October event, which truly was just such a special evening. If you've been following along on the show here over the year, or socials again, or like I said, hanging out in the space over there on YouTube and stuff that I was hanging out with Jamie, the event was just a really, really special evening, something that him and I had been working on for the whole year, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much the whole year. And to finally see all the hard work come together and just everybody coming together in the room like that, and such a great cause. And again, the Strictly Hip played, and it was such a fun night. And just to see, again, all the work that we did for a whole year come together and everybody having a good time and getting to meet all the people that we'd only interacted, in the chat on YouTube or in whatever capacity on social media. So it was really cool to meet a bunch of people in real life and reconnect with old friends as well. So that was such a really, really special night. And yeah, it was just a culmination of just a lot of really, really cool things. So yeah. And also this year, the addition of 2 photographers to the team, Justin Burnett's out in Colorado, and Alex Ray, who is down in Virginia Beach, but he is going to be based out of Raleigh in 2026. So that's very, very exciting. And of course, David Armis, who I mentioned earlier, was on the show. He has been part of the team for a little bit now, about 2 years, and he is holding it down in Florida. So that's so amazing to have that also happen this year as well. And if you or someone you know is a photographer, concert photographer, and they are looking for a media outlet to help them get the access that they are hoping to get to take photos, a lot of venues and artists and stuff won't approve photographers if they don't have an outlet. So DATC Media would love to chat more about being that outlet for you. It is an unpaid position, doing photos for the media company, but the connections and the reach and everything else that you get being a part of the team is invaluable for sure. So if you or someone you know is interested in that, I'll throw my email in the show notes, of course, but sarah@datcmediacompany.com. But yeah, definitely hit me up if you are interested in finding out more. I do know that the graphic with more details is on the top of the page on social media, so that'll give you a little bit more of detail of what the position entails. So definitely, if you're interested, I would love to chat some more. And also, this year I opened up my consulting services and my collab services. So if you are a band that is looking to do some PR with your new album release, or if you're wanting to do maybe a virtual listening party, you're wanting to start a podcast and maybe you don't know how to do any of that, or you have a show that you want to bring to the DATC Media Network and work together in that capacity and have the media company help with the parts that are not always so fun running a podcast, doing all the social media and the PR and the this and the that and the whatever. There's all sorts of different things and services that myself and DATC Media can offer creatives, musicians, bands, artists, all sorts of things. So if any of that sounds really appealing to you, hit me up. I would love to work with you. And it's been amazing getting to work with so many dream clients, artists, musicians, and bands promoting their music and everything this year. And it's just really an honor to be putting out this content and really highlighting these different bands and artists and music and everything like that. It's just been really, really special. And, that was another thing, opening up part of the media company and offering the consulting services and the collab opportunities has really allowed for what this media company was built on, was that ethos of community, and now having the platform to allow that space for other people. to put their art and their content out there, whatever that is, whether that's photographs or, podcasts or music or whatever else. So yeah, definitely hit me up. And also, if you have worked with me or DATC Media in the past, I am looking for your feedback. So I will also throw a link for the Google form in the show notes. So if you feel so inclined to share your experience of working with me and DATC Media, please do. Your feedback means a lot for sure. So, all right, I think that is everything. I think I covered everything that I wanted to this week on the show. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for joining me all year. Your support over the years just means so much, and I am very, very excited to see what's in store for 2026. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. Be safe, take care of each other, and I will see you around these parts in 2026. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dropped Among This Crowd Podcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.